Hey guys, Tyler here. More recently, ABC News had done an interview with Nancy Mace, and so without further hesitation, let's react to the video.
Here she goes. Here's Congresswoman Mace. Congresswoman Mace, can I ask you a question as you walk here? So the question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using...
100% yes.
My question to you is...
And it doesn't go far enough. I'll be filing more bills.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%. And
but should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. I am not going to stand for it. And the Speaker said it would be in the House rules package. If it's not, I will be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Now, Speaker,
end of story. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left, are willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom?
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect. And I'm absolutely going to stand in the way of anyone who thinks it's okay for a man to be in our locker room, in our changing rooms, in our dressing rooms, in women's bathrooms. And in fact, if you agree with that, you're crazy, because that's not okay. It's not okay.
Before I respond to this video, I first want to state that I'm not going to assume that the person, Nancy Mace, is actually somebody that actually hates transgender people. Now, typically when people use the word transphobia, what they refer to is an irrational fear or hatred of a person because they're basically transgender. However, whenever we have hard conversations about difficult issues, I don't think as a matter of strategy to call people names to change their minds. Because once you begin to call people names, how exactly are they going to actually listen to any sort of reasons on why exactly their fear is actually irrational or makes no sort of logical sense whatsoever? And judging directly from this video, it seems as though that Nancy is coming from a place of concern because she was actually a rape victim. And she's actually concerned about the safety of girls and women for the case of bathrooms and not necessarily coming from a place of hatred of trans people. Now, there was actually a study that was done directly on this issue. And so without further hesitation, let's take a look at that study about this whole entire matter about transgender people and also the case of bathrooms. The study I'm going to refer to in the video is called Gender Identity Non-Discrimination Laws and Public Accommodations, a review of evidence regarding safety and privacy in public bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms. It says right here that North Carolina's Public Facilities Private and Security Act, also known as HB 2, introduced much of the United States to a debate regarding the use of public bathrooms that had previously largely gone unnoticed. In an emergency session, the North Carolina legislature passed HB 2 in one day, legally requiring sex-segregated restrooms and changing facilities to be limited to be based upon the sex of a person's birth certificate. While this law had no legal impact on restroom use among cisgender people, it meant that transgender people who had transitioned from their sex assigned at birth to a different gender would be required to use the bathroom of their sex assigned at birth. The primary argument levied against the passage of public accommodations non-discrimination policies that protect transgender people is that the policy creates a loophole for sexual predators to access women's public restrooms and locker rooms. Now let's look at the data right here. It shows the violent crime across New England states from 2005 to 2014, and it comes directly from the Uniform Crime Reporting Statistics from the FBI. Now, this chart right here represents the differences in the average monthly rates of criminal instances within public restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms. Now, the dashed lines represent 90% of confident intervals. Negative values show lower rates of victimizations in comparison to matched localities before, during, and after policy introductions. And this chart also does something very similar as well. Now, the conclusion says that the opponents of gender identity non-discrimination laws and public accommodations have largely cited fear of safety and privacy violations in public restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms if such laws were passed, while proponents have argued that the laws do not increase danger or harm in such spaces. To date, no evidence has been gathered to empirically test the hypothesized effect of these laws. This is the first study to collect public records and analytically compare the safety of public restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms in localities that have gender identity inclusive non-discrimination laws that apply to public restrooms and matched localities that do not have such laws. The results show that the passage of such non-discrimination laws is not related to the number or frequency of criminal instances in such public spaces. Additionally, the results show that reports of privacy and safety violations in public restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms are exceedingly rare and much lower than statewide reports of reporting violent crime more generally. Look, guys, I'm not trying to say that the whole entire issue that's been brought forth by the Congresswoman is completely invalidated, but just judging from the study I just cited in this video, there's actually no sort of evidence to actually demonstrate, at least right now, that any sort of bad things are going to happen within like the public spaces for bathrooms for the case of trans women going into women's bathrooms. It's just simply no data to actually support that. And so while I understand, I guess, the concern, there's just simply nothing to actually support such viewpoints. But what do you guys think about my study that I just brought up in the video? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.